Hey guys, welcome back again. Magic the Gathering, Speculation, Economics, and Finance. I'm your host, Birdman. And we had someone who posted a comment last time, I believe, asking about the process of purchasing multiple copies of a single card in the cheapest way possible. Asking what episode I had covered that in. And I know I've covered it, but I couldn't remember which episode and thought it might not hurt to revisit it. So today we're gonna talk about the flashback draft on Ravnica City of Guilds. Starting today, we're gonna have a week of triple Ravnica flashback draft. So I just want to talk about the implications there, because right now standard's just kind of slow. There's not a lot happening right there. We're not going to have another major modern event for a little while. It's going to be several weeks. So this seems like an interesting thing to talk about as far as Magic Online specific stuff. But before we get to that, let's have a little conversation about my methodology for picking up a bunch of copies of a single card as cheap as possible. So the thing to keep in mind here is that when we're picking up multiple copies of a single card from the same bot, the way that the algorithms work on these bots is they will keep raising the price on you every time you buy additional copies. So you buy a playset of a card, no problem. Maybe even a second playset, maybe the price doesn't change. But generally by the time you get to the third playset, the price is going to start going up. And by the time you buy a fourth or a fifth playset, the prices can go up somewhat dramatically. More than just a few pennies. So here's my methodology. If I know that a card is at a really good price point where I want to get as many copies as possible within the price range that it's at, but I don't necessarily want to pay more than 20 or 30 cents more than where it's at right now, this is the method that I'll use. So number one, we go with the good old-fashioned search the trade forums. So we're going to actually search the trade forums for the card and see if we can find anything that's a good price. This can be a little bit tricky because if a card on the trade forums is like a ticket and a penny, well, and it's from a bot you're not going to trade with much, you might not want to pick that up because you might not want to leave 99 cents of value with that bot. Maybe you can, or maybe you can't find something else useful to get from that bot at the same time. But if you're lucky and you can find something at a good price that works every once in a while, this is an easy way to get some extra copies before you start messing with major bots algorithms by purchasing copies there. One thing to keep in mind is, let's say a card is being sold by CardBot or GoatBots for 1.17 tickets, a little over one ticket, and you find a random bot on the forum selling it for 85 cents, and you buy that card. Don't worry about the extra 15 cents because that's just bonus. Just pretend like you're buying it for one ticket, which is still cheaper than GoatBots or CardBot, and maybe you find something random to pick up for the extra 15 cents. But don't even worry about that, because even at a ticket, even just flushing that last 15 cents, you're still buying it cheaper, and that's what you got to focus on. So number one, search the trade forums. Number two, you want to search MTGO library. So let me just pull that up for you guys real quick here. So it's mtgolibrary.com, and once you get there, you click on wiki price. You plug in a card. So in this case, I'm going to put in Tarmogoyf. We're going to go with Modern Masters, and this is just a sort of an aggregated price database for online bots that all use the MTGO library bot, and you can see all their prices right here for both buyers and sellers. And as you can see, I've got a whole bunch of random credits left lying around. Looks like you can even search to update your credits to see what you've got, and I've got 4.09 credits stored with 155 bots. So you can see I use this quite a bit. You can get some pretty sweet deals. And the same thing applies here, like I was talking about a second ago when you search the forums in general. If I can get a card for 85 cents that CardBot is selling, or MTGO Traders is selling for one ticket and 20 cents, I don't worry about the extra credits I have left over. I just leave those for later for a nice little Merry Christmas to myself, because eventually I store up enough extra credits where I can just get some random free cards, and that's with credits I don't even care about because I already generally got sweet deals that left those residual credits there anyway. So anyway, that's number 2, is check out MTGO library. The next thing we want to do usually is hit up Cardbot, or no, not Cardbot, hit up GoatBots. So you're going to want to hit GoatBot, search for GoatBot on the forums, and there's a whole bunch of them. There's like, I think 10 regular GoatBots, and then there's some that sell standard cards. There's a whole lot of them. You'll find if you search for GoatBot, there's going to be a lot of other bots that'll come up just because other bots know that GoatBot is really popular, so they plug GoatBot into their terms that'll be brought up on a search, basically just trying to bootstrap or get carried on the reputation of GoatBot, which is kind of lame, but it happens. But anyway, find GoatBot and check there, because they use, I don't know how this stuff works, but whatever algorithms and data that GoatBot is utilizing is independent from MTGO traders, card hoarders, and Cardbot. Now, this is actually very significant, because when you buy cards from GoatBot, that will not cause the prices on the other major chains to go up. And usually GoatBot, what I've found is on commons, uncommons, and rares, usually GoatBot's prices are cheaper. Sometimes on mythic rares they can be more expensive, but I like to check GoatBot first because sometimes they're cheaper than the major chains. So first you're going to want to search trade forums, pick up whatever scraps you can there. Sometimes you won't find much. MTGO library, pick up all the cheap copies there. Then we hit GoatBots, and none of these things will cause the prices on the major chains to go up. However, if you hit the major chains first, some of the MTGO library bots apparently tap into that same data, and some of the bots on the forums do too, so that if you go to like MTGO traders and buy copies there first, and then you go to buy copies other places, you may find those other copies have gone up in prices. But if you hit the forums first, then MTGO library, then GoatBots, this should not cause the prices to go up at the major chains. So then last, that's when we finally hit up MTGO traders, Cardbot, and Card Hoarder. Helps if we can spell. So yeah, that's the order you want to do it. Now the interesting thing about MTGO traders, Cardbot, and Card Hoarder is somehow they're all accessing the same data. So if you buy 10 copies of Tarmogoyf from Cardbot, that will cause the price to go up immediately with MTGO traders and Card Hoarder. I don't know if they're just saving, if they're all sharing some data, they're all accessing the same thing, if they're all in cahoots and owned by the same people. I have no idea. I don't think they're actually all owned by the same people. I'm just saying I don't know. But I do know that when you buy cards from any of these 3 major chains, you know, the prices will go up. There's a few other kind of places, other bots, but I think this covers the bulk of it. I think between MTGO library, searching the forums, GoatBots, MTGO traders, Cardbot, and Card Hoarders, I think you've really hit it. If anybody else out there knows of a really major bot that is out there that's different and separate from all these things, so I think this pretty much covers everything. And this methodology for buying, like if you need to get 20 to 50 copies of a card, this is how I do it, so that I can theoretically get all the copies I need without pushing the price up too much, which is usually what I'm after. Same thing applies for when you're selling a card. The one thing I'll add, if you're selling a card, you can follow the same methodology for selling. Search the forums, hit up MTGO library. The only difference is the third thing I'll do is I'll check the price on GoBots, but usually they don't pay as much as MTGO traders, Cardbot, and Card Hoarder. So usually for selling, the order is a little bit different. So let me just kind of lay that out for you. For selling, we're gonna flop this around a little bit, and we're gonna hit up GoatBots last. So, and the first thing we're gonna do is also a little different. When you're selling, you want to check out hot list. Just do a search for hot list. You can actually go to MTGO, let's see here, MTGOtraders.com, and you can see that when you're, let's see here, hot list. Here's the link right here, and they have hot list and hot list 2 are bots run by MTGO traders that will actually pay more than their regular buy bots for cards that, you know, basically they're selling a lot and they're having a harder time keeping in stock. They'll pay a little bit of a premium on that. So the first thing I'll actually do is check hot list or hot list bot 2. I'll search the trade forums, I'll check MTGO library, and then after that I will finally also check goat bots. And usually this is the order you're going to find the best deals. Like the highest buyers are usually going to be these hot list bots. Then occasionally you'll find somebody who's paying pretty good on the forums. Sometimes MTGO library will pay more than the major bots, not always, but it never hurts to check there first. Then by then usually I'm selling to MTGO traders and cardbot and card hoarder until the prices go down a little bit that they're paying, and then usually I'll check goat bot in case their buy prices catch up with MTGO traders and cardbot and card hoarder, because again, as you sell cards to these 3 major chains, they'll pay less and less for each play set, and then sometimes that causes GoatBot to catch up in terms of how much they're willing to pay, because again, GoatBots, MTGO traders, cardbot, and card hoarder, well, MTGO traders, cardbot, and card hoarder, again, just they're accessing separate data, and apparently they don't share with GoatBot, so that's a good thing for us. So anyway, that's how I do it. If you have any questions on that, just, you know, leave something in the comments. I really appreciate any comments, just so I know at least somebody's out there paying attention to this stuff. I really enjoy doing this stuff, but again, it helps, you know, to know that somebody's actually listening. So the next thing I want to do today, really the last thing, is I want to talk about Ravnica. Here we are again back on MTG Goldfish. Again, I'm not sponsored in any way by MTG Goldfish. They don't give me anything. I receive no benefits from anyone, because no one really wants to give me compensation for, you know, the small handful of people that watch these videos. I just do this stuff because I enjoy it, and MTG Goldfish is just a great resource, so that's why I pretty much access it on almost every video I make. So anyway, what we're looking at here is, because Ravnica City of Guilds is going to be redrafted, the supply is going to increase. So that means that we have a little bit of an opportunity here to perhaps pick up some cards. I wouldn't suggest picking anything up right now, but as you can see, the top 6 cards, top 6 most valuable cards online are all trending downward right now. That's in anticipation of the extra supply that's going to be landing. Now, I don't know how much this set is actually going to get drafted, because there's really not much value to draft this. Like, unless you're really consistently winning your drafts, these are negative value drafts. So this is probably better than the Odyssey, because, you know, at least you've got a couple cards worth something in this set, but it's still pretty bad. But I think some people might have a lot more nostalgia for Ravnica, and there may be people drafting this anyway. There may be enough people that just see the flashback coming up that the impression created in people causes prices to go down, and then maybe a little bit of supply in reality causes that as well. Anyway, what we're looking at here is what cards might we consider picking up once the prices get down, and when should we pick them up. So traditionally, there's a couple of different places you can pick up cards if there's not actually going to be that much supply come into the market. Sometimes early to midweek the prices will actually reach their low just on the psychological effect, not the actual supply. If there is enough people drafting it to actually cause depression of prices, then by the time you get to towards the end of the flashback week, usually prices have reached their lowest point. Occasionally the week after a draft, prices will trend down on a card if there's actually not that much demand for the card. It was just a very limited supply was propping it up. So anyway, what we're looking at here, I'm really not a fan of picking up these original Shocklands. I think that if you're going to pick up Shocklands, that's not a terrible idea to look at, but I would pick up the more recent printings. So I would probably go check out Return to Ravnica. which is not a terrible idea. Like if, say, the Watery Grave from Return to Ravnica gets down to a ticket. I'm not really a huge fan of Shocklands, but if they manage to get down to 1 ticket, that might not be a terrible idea, just because at that price point, pretty much everybody, I would think, might consider picking them up, from the most serious tournament players to the most casual. We can see that the price has gone from 3.2 down to 2.3, so it's already trending down pretty good. I mean, the all-time lowest price is 95 cents, so if it gets close to that, I'm not opposed to picking some up, but at 2 tickets I'm still not interested. The Shocklands are just, I don't know, they're with modern cards. I mean, the spread, a 20% spread, that's actually not bad, but usually traditionally once these cards skyrocket up, modern cards usually have spreads in the 30 to 50% range, so you really, a card like this, if you bought it at 2, would have to get up to like 350 to have a good solid profit. Anyway, back to it. So on all these Shocklands, I'm not opposed to picking them up, but I'm not super interested unless they get really close to all-time low price points, and if so, then by all means pick up 20 or 30 copies. You're pretty much guaranteed to make money on them. I mean, you could probably pick up max 50 or 60 copies of these. It'd be tricky to unload them, but you could do it if you're really careful. Dark Confidant, I don't know. I'm not really interested in picking this card up, just because you know, we can see it's had relative highs of 1750, 16, and it's stayed really low. Like, it's been down around 10 and 11 even before this, and I'm not excited about Dark Confidant. It hasn't shown me enough in the past. When I pick up a card, ideally I'm hoping for, I don't know, at least a really solid couple of tickets returned in a pretty reasonable time frame, or maybe doubling my money. Like, if I can buy a card for a ticket or 2 and turn around and sell it for 3 or 4, I like that. Buying this, over 10 tickets just to eventually sell it and make it a ticket or 2 doesn't really get me excited. So that's kind of where I stand on Dark Confidant. Life from the Loam's kind of the same story. We already talked about Shocklands in general, so that covers Sacred Foundry. Glimpse, is basically a casual card, and there's not enough casual people playing Magic Online for me to get interested in casual cards. So my philosophy on casual cards in Magic Online is stay away from it. My philosophy on casual cards with real physical cards is they're the best thing ever, but not online. So Court of Calling is an interesting card. That's definitely worth thinking about. Remand is an interesting card. Birds of Paradise are interesting as well. And Lightning Helix. And I think that pretty well rounds everything out as far as possible things for us to analyze here. So Golgari Thug has at one point in time spiked up over a ticket. It's kind of trended downward. We've recently, let's see, most recent high was at 60 cents. So I think Golgari Thug's actually pretty interesting, because right now it's at 9 cents. On the week it's actually gone up 4 cents. So if this thing gets down like next to nothing, like if we see this price go down to 2 to 5 cents, I mean, why not pick up a stack? If they never go anywhere, you're only putting, I mean, let's say they get down to 2 cents and you pick up 50. You're only 1 ticket in. I mean, that's basically nothing if you're doing any kind of investing online of any magnitude. Even if you only have 500 tickets to work with, 1 ticket is nothing. You can spend that on a rainy day, really low possibility payoff, because if you hit, you're gonna make huge returns. So I really like Golgari Thug. I think as long as the price goes down 5 cents or under, I'd say get as many as you can get your hands on. Even if it never goes anywhere, you're not risking much, and the gains could be pretty fun, because I mean, you could put in a ticket on this, and if they spiked up to 50 cents and you could sell them at a quarter, my goodness, you're making an absurd return on that 1 ticket. So that's pretty interesting. Lightning Helix is kind of in that same boat. I mean, it just was at a ticket. However, it's still at 60 cents. And in the recent past, it's been down to 10 cents. So that's kind of what I'm looking at. I don't think I want to pick this up unless it gets down around 10-15 cents. If it does, then yeah, I'll pick up a stack. But I don't really want to pick these up. I mean, right now the buy list is at 30 cents. So I would definitely want to be getting them under 30 cents no matter what, and I'm probably not even thinking about it unless they're getting down to at least 20 cents. Under 20 cents, I'm getting pretty excited about getting a lot of these. So anyway, Lightning Helix is an interesting one to look at. Next up, let's take a look at Remand, another uncommon. Nice thing about Remand is it for a while it had it's tanked down to a ticket before. It's had a pretty consistent over 2 ticket price, which is pretty cool. As of late, we see relative highs of 250 and 240, which is great. It's recently spiked down to 170 and even had a little bit of a flash crash down to $1.30. Right now, buy listing for $1.50. So I don't want to pick this up unless it gets down to at least $1.30. And I think there's a real possibility that if this thing gets down to a ticket, again, I want as many of these as I can get my hands on at one ticket. Spread of 22% is pretty reasonable. It's a pretty popular, interesting card. So it has some interesting potential, but 2 tickets is way too high right now. We'll just see how hard the card comes down. Birds of Paradise, there's a lot of different versions, so you should really just check for the cheapest version you can get your hands on, because eventually the prices all tend to stabilize with each other. Most people online don't care about having the cool originals, and at any rate, Ravnica wasn't the original printing anyway. So, buy listing at a ticket, 1.08 tickets, a little over a ticket. It's had relative highs over around 2.5 tickets. Recently, it's been up to around $1.70. It's crashed down recently, also to very close to a ticket. So I'm not interested in these. I'm not even thinking about it unless they get down under a ticket. I'm going to say around 50 cents. I'll pick up as many of these as I can get my hands on. But I don't even care. I'm not even thinking about it unless it gets down around 70 cents. So that's Bird. Court of Calling's pretty interesting. It got up over 6 tickets there in the not too distant past. In the most recent past, it's been up around 4 tickets. It's also been down around 250 recently. Currently buy listing at 289. I'm not really keen to pick this up unless it gets down to close to 2 tickets, in which case I'll pick up as many as I can get my hands on. So it's hard to say for sure which of these cards I really want to go after, if any, until we see how hard the prices crash because of this flashback. And I'm not necessarily going to hold out. Like if we get halfway through the flashback, like let's say we get to the weekend and there's still a few days left on the flashback, but the prices get down and within those attractive ranges I was just talking about, I won't wait. I'll just pull the trigger and start buying. Even if I could have gotten them cheaper, it's possible that they could also end up coming right back up. A good recent example of this is Moment's Peace. So there was a flashback draft with Odyssey very recently, and this huge crash right here actually occurred during the flashback week, and then the price rebounded while the flashback draft was still ongoing, and then stabilized and flatlined. And which, by the way, I still think these are very reasonable priced. As long as these are still at 2 tickets, I think they're a reasonable pickup. I've already picked up mine. I've thought about picking up some more, but I think I've already got around 40 copies. I might get a couple more, but I generally don't pick up more than 50 on pauper specs, just because it can get tough to unload them all. But I mean, this thing has recently been over 4 tickets quite a few times, so it's a reasonable pickup right now. But my point is, this got down to a very cheap price, but then popped back up, even with the flashback ongoing. So, lesson learned. I'm not going to hold out to the end of the flashback. If I see a card get to an attractive price point, even if we're during the flashback, I'll go ahead and pull the trigger and start buying. Standard's kind of stale and sluggish right now. I talked last episode in my comprehensive review about 6 cards that I thought might be worth looking at, 6 mythics that won't be rotating out that have some interesting potential. I've picked up a few of each of them, but I still have more to pick up. I'm kind of waiting. Usually once we get close to the next set, a lot of prices will take a dip either right before or right after the set release. Now there's also a risk that if you're looking at a mythic rare that right now just isn't seeing any action, there's a risk in waiting to buy, because once Ixalan gets closer, maybe some spoilers of some of the commons or uncommons we haven't seen yet. The rare sheet's pretty much all been spoiled already. You can go check that out. Just Google it. But if we see some commons or uncommons that give people ideas for how to abuse cards that already exist, sometimes the prices can go up instead of going down before the set releases. So there is some risk in waiting, but more times than not, prices go down. I think what I'd ideally like to do is pick up some copies of the 6 mythic rares that I think are interesting post-rotation now, and then pick up more copies of the ones that tank in price, and just kind of go from there. And if any of them go up really hard on hype speculation for some kind of weird combo stuff, maybe just sell into the hype, because more times than not, stuff doesn't actually pan out. Anyway, I think that pretty well covers everything for this time. I don't really have much else for today. So anyway, hopefully this stuff will help make you some tickets. You guys all stay safe. God bless. Be safe. Make money. Prosper. I'll catch you next time.